If your surname is on this list, you are not just Spanish by heritage, you are connected to a specific bloodline, a specific province of the Old Kingdom, a specific expedition that vanished into jungle or desert, and in most cases, a specific man who chased a city of gold that did not exist and paid for the dream with everything he had. 10 more surnames. 10 more bloodlines. And by the end of this video, you will know exactly where yours stands in the age when Spaniards crossed an ocean to become gods and came back as ghosts. Stay until number 1, because that surname was carried by a man the Inquisition watched, a man who conquered a kingdom of emeralds and whose secret the crown would have destroyed him for. Number 10, Mendoza. From the Basque Mendiotza, the cold mountain, a name born in the high, hard country of northern Spain. It sounds like weather, like stone, like something that endures. And endure it did. The Mendoza were one of the greatest noble houses in all of Spain, and when the New World was carved up, it was a Mendoza who was chosen to rule it. Antonio de Mendoza became the first viceroy of New Spain in 1535, the man the crown trusted to govern the shattered Aztec Empire after Cortés could no longer be controlled. It was Mendoza who financed and launched the Coronado expedition into the north. It was a Mendoza who later became viceroy of Peru as well. This was not a family of desperate soldiers. This was the family the crown sent to clean up after the soldiers, to turn conquest into empire. If your name is Mendoza, your bloodline runs through the house that did not merely conquer the New World, it was handed the keys to rule it. The next surname belongs to a man who lost an eye to Cortés, lost an empire's worth of men in a Florida swamp, and was last seen being swept out to sea on a raft he built with his own hands. Number 9, Narvaez. From a small place in Old Castile, a name of hard consonants and hard luck. Panfilo de Narvaez was a conquistador of towering ambition and catastrophic misfortune. He first entered history as the man sent to arrest Cortés, and he lost that confrontation, and an eye, in a single night. But the crown gave him a second chance. In 1527, they made him governor of Florida and sent him with 600 men to claim it. Almost nothing survived. Storms, hunger, and relentless resistance destroyed the expedition. Narvaez ordered his men to build rafts from melted-down stirrups and horsehide, and they took to the Gulf of Mexico. A storm scattered them. Narvaez, on his own raft, was swept out into the open sea and was never seen again. Of 600 men, 4 survived, walking for 8 years across a continent to reach safety. If your name is Narvaez, your bloodline runs through the man who lost an eye, lost an empire, and disappeared into the sea he tried to cross. Number 8 is one of the strangest names in Spain. It means head of a cow, and the man who carried it walked barefoot across the entire American Southwest, survived what killed 600 others, and came home a changed man who begged the crown to stop the cruelty. Number 8, Cabeza de Vaca. It means exactly what it sounds like, head of a cow. The story passed down in the family says an ancestor marked a hidden mountain pass with the skull of a cow, allowing a Christian army to surprise the Moors and win a decisive battle, and the honor became the family name. Alvar Núñez Cabeza de Vaca was the treasurer of the doomed Narvaez expedition, and one of only 4 men to survive it. For 8 years he wandered the deserts and plains of what is now Texas and northern Mexico, enslaved, starving, sometimes revered by native peoples as a healer. When he finally reached Spanish territory, he was so changed that he spent the rest of his life arguing against the brutal treatment of the indigenous peoples he had lived among. He wrote it all down. His account is one of the first true records of the American interior. If your name is Cabeza de Vaca, your bloodline runs through the man who survived the impossible and came back pleading for mercy in an age that had none. Number 7 carries a name that sounds like a garden. The man behind it discovered the fountain of youth was a lie, but not before he claimed an entire land for Spain and died of a wound that no fountain could heal. Number 7. Ponce de Leon. From Ponce, an old given name, joined to Leon, the lion, and the kingdom of Leon itself, a regal name, a lion's name. Juan Ponce de Leon, was a veteran of the wars against the Moors and one of the earliest conquistadors in the Caribbean. He became the first governor of Puerto Rico and grew immensely wealthy. And then, chasing rumors of a land to the north and a spring that restored youth, he sailed in 1513 and landed on a lush coast he named La Florida, the flowery land, for the season and the blossoms. He claimed it for Spain. He found no fountain. Years later, he returned to settle it, and in a battle with the Calusa people, he was struck by an arrow. The wound festered. He died in Cuba. If your name is Ponce de Leon, your bloodline runs through the man who went searching for eternal life and found the land where he would die. Before we continue, if you are finding this useful, subscribe to Origins Decoded. Every week we uncover the history hidden inside surnames, bloodlines, and family names from across the world. Hit subscribe so you never miss one. The next surname belonged to a red-caped captain who mutinied against Pizarro himself, then raced two rival armies across a continent to seize a kingdom of gold before they could. Number 6. Belalcázar. From the Arabic and Spanish, the beautiful fortress, Bel and Alcázar, the castle. Sebastián de Belalcázar took his name from the town he came from in Córdoba province. He was one of Pizarro's captains in Peru, but ambition made him his own man. He broke away, marched north, and conquered the kingdom of Quito. Then, hearing of a golden land and a golden king to the north, he pushed on into what is now Colombia, founding cities as he went, including Cali and Popayan. He was one of 3 conquistadors from 3 different directions who converged, astonishingly, on the same high plateau at almost the same moment, each believing he alone had found El Dorado. If your name is Belalcázar, your bloodline runs through the captain who abandoned Pizarro, carved his own empire out of the Andes, and arrived at the Golden Kingdom only to find 2 rivals already standing there. Number 5 sounds noble and old, and it is. But the man who carried it was one of the most feared soldiers of the entire conquest, a crossbowman whose loyalty could not be bought and whose enemies did not survive. Number 5. Guzman. From a Gothic root meaning good man, or from an old word for a warrior in service to a lord. One of the most ancient and powerful surnames in Spain, tied to dukes and saints. But in the New World, the name took a darker turn. Nuño Beltrán de Guzmán was a conquistador and governor so brutal that even in an age of conquistadors, his cruelty stood out. As governor of Pánuco, and then president of the First Audiencia of New Spain, he was the bitter rival of Cortés, and his treatment of indigenous peoples in western Mexico was so extreme that the crown itself eventually arrested and imprisoned him. He conquered vast territory, founded Guadalajara's earliest incarnation, and died in disgrace back in Spain. If your name is Guzman, your bloodline carries one of the oldest noble names in Spain, and one of the hardest men the conquest ever produced. Number 4 is a name that means the meadow, soft and green. But the man who carried it crossed an entire ocean of grass, chased 7 cities of gold across the plains of North America, and found nothing but the horizon. Number 4, Prado, or in the fuller line, the men of the northern plains. From Prado, the Spanish word for meadow, for pasture, for open green ground. It is a name of countless soldiers who marched with the great expeditions, ordinary men whose names history barely recorded, but whose feet carried the conquest across 2 continents. In the ranks of Coronado's army, in the columns that crossed the deserts of the southwest and the endless grass of the Great Plains, men of the meadow marched towards cities that did not exist. Most never got rich. Most never got famous. Many never came home. If your name is Prado, your bloodline runs through the nameless thousands who made the conquest possible and vanished from the record entirely, the foot soldiers of an empire that remembered only its captains. Number 3 carries a name tied to the greatest river on earth. The man behind it was carried down the entire length of the Amazon by a current he could not fight, into a legend that has never let go of the human imagination. Number 3. Orellana. From a place in Extremadura, the same hard province that produced Cortés, Pizarro, and Balboa. Francisco de Orellana set out from Quito as second in command of an expedition searching for cinnamon and gold on the far side of the Andes. Starving, the party split. Orellana took a boat downriver to find food and could not return against the current. The river carried him onward and onward for thousands of miles, all the way across the continent to the Atlantic in 1542. Along the way, his men reported battles with fierce women warriors, and they named the river after the Amazons of Greek myth. Whether those warriors were real or a starving man's vision, the name stuck. He became the first European to travel the length of the Amazon. If your name is Orellana, your bloodline runs through the man who was swept into the greatest river on earth and gave it the name the world still uses. Number 2 is a name that sounds like sunrise. The man who carried it conquered Guatemala with fire and terror, then died in the dust beneath a falling horse, far from any gold. Number 2. Olid, or the captains of the Western Marches. Cristobal de Olid was one of Cortez's most brilliant and most dangerous captains, a soldier of extraordinary courage who helped bring down the Aztec Empire. Cortez trusted him enough to send him to conquer Honduras. And there, tempted by the wealth of an entire new territory, Olid did what so many conquistadors did to the men above them. He rebelled. He tried to claim Honduras for himself. Cortez marched an army across hundreds of miles of jungle to stop him, one of the most grueling expeditions of the entire conquest. Olid was betrayed by his own officers and killed. If your name is Olid, your bloodline runs through the captain who helped conquer an empire, reached for one of his own, and was destroyed by the very ambition that had made him. And now, number 1. This name was carried by a lawyer, not a soldier. A man who conquered a kingdom of gold and emeralds, who founded a capital city that still stands, and who hid a secret that in his age could have sent him to the fire, a secret buried so carefully that the crown itself never used it against him. Here is what he was protecting. Number 1. Jimenez, or in his full name, Jimenez de Quesada. From the medieval given name Jimeno, of ancient Basque origin, meaning son, a name older than Spain itself. Gonzalo Jimenez de Quesada was born in Córdoba into a family of conversos, Jews whose ancestors had been forced to convert to Catholicism, the same shadow that fell on so many families in that age. He was not a warrior, he was a trained lawyer, one of the only educated men to lead a major conquest. In 1536, he took nearly 900 men up the Magdalena River into the unknown interior of what is now Colombia. The jungle destroyed them. They ate snakes, lizards, and the leather of their own scabbards. Barely 160 men survived to reach the highlands, and there they found it, the Muisca, a civilization rich in gold and emeralds. Jimenez de Quesada conquered them, seized a fortune, and founded the city of Bogotá in 1538. But the Golden King, the true El Dorado, always lay just beyond the next mountain. He spent the rest of his life and his entire fortune chasing it. His last expedition left with hundreds of men and returned with a handful of skeletons. He died old, buried in debt, ruined by the dream, his converso origins a quiet danger he carried to the grave. If your name is Jimenez, your bloodline runs through the scholar who conquered a kingdom of emeralds, founded a capital, hid his faith from the Inquisition, and lost everything chasing a city of gold that was never there. 10 more surnames, 10 more bloodlines, 10 more corridors leading back through ocean crossings, drowned expeditions, jungles that ate armies whole, rivers that carried men into legend, and the golden dream that lured a generation of Spaniards to their deaths. Your name is not just a name, it is a province, it is an expedition. It is a man who crossed an ocean chasing something that glittered, and either seized it or was destroyed reaching for it. Drop your surname in the comments, and tell me which bloodline yours comes from, and if you know the story your family carried out of Spain or out of the New World, say it, because those stories deserve to be heard. If you made it to the end of this video, subscribe to Origins Decoded. Every week we go deeper into the history hidden inside the names people carry, without knowing what they mean. The next video is already waiting